What's up, hockey fans? Welcome to another episode of Pod Snipe Celly. I'm Dan Bradley. Alongside me tonight, Joel Fernino. As always, Joel, how you doing, my friend? This guy is muted right off the top of the show.
There were sirens going. There was,
makes sense.
I am fantastic. I've been waiting for this episode for many, many months now.
You have. It's you've been waiting for this show and then the next show that we're going to do basically since about last February?
When was the draft lottery show?
Well, that one was May that we did that show, but I mean honestly,
we'll say June then.
We knew since about last December that Bedard was going to be a Blackhawk, and it only got more confirmed as we went. We knew. Right. We absolutely knew.
We knew nothing. All right. And you know what? If they
knew nothing, Jon Snow. I knew.
You know what? I'll say it. I said it back then. I will say it now. If it was rigged, they were smart.
This guy is going to kill me tonight.
I mean, I wore the jersey just for you, my guy.
I know you did. Joey joining us as well.
Fresh out of the dentist. Bedard's season is starting. Yes, it is. The training camp is underway. The videos are coming through. Oh, God.
And Joey's teeth are looking brighter than Bedard's future. So.
Wow.
That's a compliment.
Look, hey, you asked how I was doing, and before we even start, I will say from a sports perspective on a hockey side of things, I'm doing great. But if Bedard doesn't shine, you can go ahead and bury me in this jersey because the way the rest of the sports in this town are going, Bears, Chicago sports are on fire.
Yeah, Joey, my tooth isn't in as much pain as the league, you mean? Is your tooth in as much pain as the Bears?
No.
I mean,
you know what? It's not even like anger anymore. It's just apathy, which if I'm running a team, that's much worse. You can be pissed all you want. The Stars and their broadcasting affiliates. So.
Mateo already getting in with the chirps on the Stars broadcast team. Because the Wild are in action tonight, taking on Dallas. We'll see.
Started already?
Oh, yeah. Preseason is underway.
So that's why I was seeing things then. I was like, well, then we just waited a while because we don't actually start preseason until Thursday.
No, I believe you have already started.
No, 28th.
Give me just a moment to confirm that, but I'm pretty sure preseason has already started. Maybe not.
No.
No, I guess not. You are the only. Chicago is the only Central Division team that has yet to play a preseason game. Arizona has already played 5, so.
Yeah, they need the practice.
Take from that what you will. But if you didn't figure it out, this is our Central Division preview show. This is our 4th and final division preview. We're going to take next week off and then come back after that with our full season preview show. That one's going to be even longer than this one. So we have all sorts of hockey to talk about. Joel is beyond hyped for Bedard. But unfortunately, because we're going in standings order, he's going to have to wait till the end of the show.
True.
To get to talk about that. But we promise he'll make it worth the wait.
We earned that. We are last. Just spoiler alert. It's still not going to go well next year. It's just going to be more fun to watch.
No, it's going to be ugly. Mateo's saying there's no broadcast. That's why they suck. Yeah, that would make it worse.
Yeah. You know, it's funny, too. We're doing the Central Division, and yet we got the potential, I think it's news about the Golden Knights streaming service being $69.99 a year or $6.99 a game. Nice.
It's a nice price. You cannot beat that deal.
Price. I don't actually think it's a joke, though. I think it's legit.
Let's jump right into a team here that, similar to last week's show where we talked about Boston, who finished first and saw a first-round exit. Colorado Avalanche, same deal. 109 points on the season, 51, 24, and 7. But lost in Game 7 of the first round to Seattle. Coming off the cup run that they had, I mean, Colorado, we knew there was going to be a little bit of a step back, but there really wasn't too much of one from a regular season standpoint. But they really, Seattle really took it to him in that playoff series. It was fast. It was physical hockey every single night. The Kraken just ate every shot that Colorado couldn't get directly on the net. And they hit everything that moved. And Colorado, I think some of the moves that they made this offseason kind of reflect, they got to the cup a couple of years ago. They won their cup. And now it's okay. How do we get back?
Yep.
And without Gabriel Landeskog, with him being out injured, they kind of took advantage of the long-term injured reserve situation and made a couple really interesting moves this offseason that should have them poised to be right back in contention next year.
Yeah, I mean, bringing in the biggest one for me is bringing in Ryan Johansson, trading with Nashville.
Yeah.
Trading with Nashville, bringing in Ryan Johansson to shore up that center depth. Also, I mean, a bit of a reclamation project, but putting Jonathan Drouin on a Stanley Cup caliber team for pretty much the first time in his career. I guess Tampa when he.
Yeah, but they moved him for Sergachev before
they were ever really exactly. Although, wait, Drouin he had already been moved by the time he faced us in 2015, right? Or he was there for that, or he hadn't even been drafted yet.
If he was still with Tampa, then he wasn't. I don't think he was playing.
Hold on,
any sort of minutes for them.
Yeah, so he was drafted in 2013, so he would
have. Right, but I don't know that he would have been. Out of juniors and playing those kind of minutes.
Right. At this point, he's a reclamation project, but putting him on
maybe. He had 21 games in 2015-16 and I guess he did play in the playoffs.
I thought I saw
15-16 playoffs, 14 points in 17 games. So
because that was when he was still known as like, okay, this kid is damn good, and then all of a sudden he started getting traded everywhere and nothing could figure it out for him. Maybe he'll get reclamation project for Colorado, but it's if there's a team that can coach him back up to at least close to his old form, his younger form, I'd think it'd be Colorado. But I'm with you, man. They brought in quite a bit. They also happen to bring in Miles Wood, Ross Colton, sending out JT
Miles Wood one, I guess, and the Colton one. They're both pretty interesting to me. I like those moves a lot. I think they're great fits for Colorado.
It's just, I mean, when it comes to Colorado, it's just depth additions. Like your core is still in place, obviously outside of Landeskog being out for the season. But look, how we always say, like, you don't really know if there's a Stanley Cup hangover. I'd say they definitely were suffering from a hangover, at least the first, maybe being liberal with it, half of last season. Maybe a little less than that. But
first quarter.
Yeah, absolutely first quarter, but definitely I would say even halfway through the season, like they definitely were kind of just coasting. I mean, they partied hard, they earned it. They got their cup. They finally got there. But my whole point is we talk about teams limping into the playoffs. They didn't just limp into the playoffs. They limped into first in the division, and they still managed to get first in the division last year, even with the rising stars that were the stars. With the Wild obviously fighting there too, with Winnipeg, who during, again, the first half of the season was kind of a formidable opponent and then kind of dropped off later on. But that to me is huge. And I think now it's like, look, they won their cup. The next season is always kind of a hit or miss. Like, are you going to have that exact same momentum? Or are you going to kind of just put on cruise control and, we don't really care what seed we are. We just want to get to the dance again. Mm-hmm. Well, they did that. They're still at home ice. They still took the Central, and then, I think they just were very surprised and taken totally off guard by the Kraken breaking out last year.
I think their season in a lot of ways mirrored the Tampa Bay Lightning season last year, in that having gone to the Cup final and several deep playoff runs in a row, there was it looked like that fatigue come playoff time again. Once they got back, both clubs bowing out in the first round. But those were some very competitive runs that they had. I think they're poised to go right back. If by some miracle Landeskog is ready to go for the playoffs, that would be big. But I think at this point, we're more likely to be looking at Landeskog not returning ever to NHL ice, just with the severity of the injuries he's had, multiple surgeries now.
How old is he now?
It doesn't look great for Gabriel Landeskog.
No, it doesn't, and that's a huge loss, obviously, for them. But I guess my thing is, look, they're still going to be fine. They're still rocking that core of, McKinnon, McCarr, Taves, Devon Taves. Sorry for anyone who didn't know that. And then, Mikko Rantanen, like you're rocking that. If Georgiev and Francouz, I think I'm saying his name right.
Mm-hmm.
Pavel Francouz, if they can be that stopgap in the back. And what have we said about Colorado? Like they won their cup with Darcy Kemper. They won their cup with Darcy Kemper, who really he's a solid goaltender, but he is really just a solid goaltender. That's the whole thing with the Avalanche, that defense and that all, and their high score, their high scoring offense. I mean, you can afford to just be a guy back there.
If you are above average, you don't have to be great. You don't have to be elite. You just have to be above average. Stop the ones you're supposed to stop.
91-1. Post a 91-1.
Yeah. If you're right around there, you're probably going to be okay with the Avalanche team that's in front of you.
Exactly.
Nipping right at Colorado's heels all season, jockeying for first place and finishing out 1 point back, the Dallas Stars. Dallas beat Minnesota in the first round.
Dallas Stars.
Still hearing that in my nightmares. Beat Minnesota in 6 games in the first round.
Trivia. Who does that song for them?
Oh, I don't know.
Pantera.
Ah, interesting. Didn't know that one.
Recorded it for them. God knows how long. Yeah, you got it.
Dallas went on to beat Seattle in 7 games in the second round, then lost in 6 games to Vegas in the Western Conference Finals. Joel, the big one for me was the disappearing act of Jamie Benn throughout the playoffs, but especially in the Western Conference Finals.
Disappearing act figuratively, as in his gameplay, or literally when he got his ass suspended for 2 games.
Both, definitely both. But after a kind of career resurgent season, to have that for the offseason, little bit of a concern going in, but Dallas really, I mean, they're running it back with mostly the same squad, but I'm looking at this as Max Domi out, Matt Duchene in. That may be a slight upgrade.
I would agree, at least on the speed aspect of things, that's for sure. Not to mention center depth as opposed to, Domi being a winger.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. And then some depth adds in Craig Smith and secret agent Sam Steele.
Yep. Yeah. I want Sam Steele to be successful. I want him to get a chance to really come into his own. He's kind of been, he was with the Ducks, couldn't really figure it out there. And the Ducks really, I mean, they struggled with player development for years. And a lot of guys who are now having these later breakouts.
Not to mention, too, let's not forget, too, you brought up, I think it's a pretty solid upgrade with Matt Duchene, too, because you got to forget 2 years ago, he posted 43 goals and 86 points. And then obviously last year that kind of stalled. I use that term loosely because he dropped to 22 goals and 56 points. It's lower-ish for him, but if that's a bad season, that means you're still doing pretty good for yourself.
Right. But from what the expectations were on Steele, given the first-round draft stock.
Oh, Steele, right.
Yeah. And with Minnesota last season, he played everywhere between the first and fourth line. I think a couple of times throughout the year, he got into the lineup as a winger. or just in the days where they later in the season would dress 11 forwards and 7D, he would sometimes find himself in the press box. So really just the consistency for Steele is going to be key this year. If he can figure it out for Dallas, there's not a lot of weak spots on this roster top to bottom. And especially at the top, they have some powerhouse forwards with even more on the way as well. Logan Stankoven, who I think is going to be AHL this season. That's probably the best spot for him to develop, get used to the.
But if he lights it up,
season, but he could be a black ace for the playoffs. He could be up during the season. If you do not have Logan Stankoven on your radar, you need to get him on your radar. He's going to be a special hockey player.
Oh, absolutely. Not to mention, like you bring that up. I mean, and then of course, yeah, like you said, like you got an elite defenseman back there, kind of leading the charge with Miro Heiskanen, and then of course Jason Robertson, Rupi Hintz, and if all else fails, you got Otter, Jake Ottinger. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
I know our show is our big season preview shows next week. I think I might put in a ticket. I might get myself a Jake Ottinger Vezina ticket, and I don't usually do futures bets.
Yeah, I'm trying to get his odds up here for awards. I just called FanDuel up to take a look at the odds.
While you're looking that up,
well, I don't know why they don't have it there. There we go. Awards. Vezina odds, Ottinger plus 1,300.
Oh, hell yeah. I'm putting a ticket on that. I am absolutely putting a ticket on that.
That is the 6th best odds. There are 5 goaltenders ahead of him tied at plus 600. And Joel, I'm going to put you on the spot. Take a guess as to who the 5 goaltenders with better Vezina odds than Ottinger are.
Oh, I mean, wow. Hold on. These damn Russians.
The hint I will give you is that
no, I know them. I'm just
3 of them are Eastern Conference, 2 Western.
Yeah. So Vasilevsky.
Yep.
So what we got? Vasilevsky.
Then Russians.
No, I know. For some reason.
Are you trying to write them all down?
Yeah. Vasilevsky, Shesterkin. For some reason, Russian names were slipping my mind. Vasilevsky, Shesterkin, Connor Hellebuck.
Yep.
Oh, Sorokin.
Yep. One more. Western Conference. In this division. We'll talk about him later in the show.
Saros?
Yep.
Oh.
Yep, those are the 5.
All right. I did pretty good there.
Yeah.
I just, for some reason, Vasilevsky and Shesterkin's names were just escaping me for some stupid reason. I'm like, these are the 2 obvious names. Like,
yeah. I mean, and I'm surprised that they're all plus 600. And then having it jump to
every
plus
single one of them
after that.
Every single one of them was plus 600, and then it drops to the plus 13 for Ottinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the value there, I would be kind of tempted to take that. Yeah, I get it. Like that's tough. That you're probably going to lose money on that, but it's a good chance.
That's part of the futures bet.
But that's the thing. Like they're so like Dallas is so stacked. Like you rode them and said they were going to win the cup last year. They ran into one of the deepest teams I think I've ever seen as a hockey fan in Vegas. Can't blame them at all. They're just so stacked top to bottom. You know, Jim Nill didn't have to really do much turnover to them because why change it? And if anything, I get it. Max Domi left, Luke Glendening, Colin Miller, but like we talked about it, adding in like a Duchesne, Smith, Steele. Like
you didn't change your top 6 forwards. You didn't change your top 4 D pairing, and you didn't change your goaltender.
Exactly. and not to mention all the depth. Like, yeah, you got older guys on your team, like Tyler Seguin at this point, but he's still good. Obviously, Joe Pavelski's still fantastic. Jamie Benn, hopefully he, that was just hopefully for Dallas's sake, that was just that disappearing act was a one-time thing, right? And you got some other depth in there like Dadonov. What else we got on here?
But your younger guys are there. I mean, Wyatt Johnson, heck of a late season run and was solid throughout the playoffs. Jason Robertson is one of the best left wings in the league. I really like, in particular, their second defensive pairing, Thomas Harley and Yanni Hakanpää.
Oh yeah, Hakanpää. Yeah.
That's a tough physical line to play against.
I can't believe we're at this point. I would say Ryan Suter is your weakest link. I would ship him out if I could.
I think he is, and there was a lot of talk about were the Stars going to try and trade or buy out Suter.
Thing is who the hell is going to take him?
That's the thing. There's no trade market for him, and
unless you got to hit the cap floor, and at this point,
yeah,
I think everyone who needed to hit the cap floor is pretty much right there anyway, including us. And I don't want him. I want him. I don't want that contract.
Yeah, nobody does.
Oh, sorry, Suter sucks. He's chiming in.
Yeah, Wild fans don't particularly care for Mr. Suter anymore after his actions during the playoffs. So,
well, hey, I can't say I blame you.
Yeah, it was.
But the Stars are poised for one hell of a good season. I'm already hinting at things.
And speaking of teams that are looking at playoff caliber teams, it's the Minnesota Wild, who were third last year.
Do you want me to just go on mute?
I mean, I want to hear a couple nice things from you. I'll say some nice things about Chicago when we get there. I'm not going to. You will run that segment, but
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to say anything mean about the Wild. I mean, I see them finishing right in this exact same spot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think probably pretty similar, right around. Anywhere 2 to 5 is probably about right for Minnesota this year. I really don't see him getting above Colorado and Dallas. To me, those are your top two. But again, this Wild team has almost $15 million in dead cap, and they were 6 points out of first place in the division. The talent level is there, and once the cap crunch goes away, and not only that, but the salary cap going up over the next 2 years, Wild are going to be in really, really good shape. We talked about it earlier this offseason, the Philip Gustafson extension. Great move. Love the deal. Does carry over for...
Didn't go to arbitration, which is...
Didn't go to arbitration, thank goodness. That was the big one. Got Kalen Addison back. It really came down to the wire on that one. They signed him like the day before training camp, leaving them with something like 47 million. I wish we had 47 million in cap room. That's what it could be in a couple of years, but
pretty sure that is the floor.
Yeah, they have 47,000 in cap room. They have 5 figures of salary cap room. It is tight. There is not room to make roster moves, and a lot of guys on the one-way deals who are not waivers exempt. So send somebody down. You could be getting some guys poached off the roster. So they're really going to have to be careful how they manage that. Big one for the Wild this offseason on the way in is Pat Maroon, who I think for what he's going to bring to that third line, with Brandon Duhaime as well. That's going to be just a pest line to play against. You'll have Connor Dewar, Brandon Duhaime, and Pat Maroon likely as your fourth line. That's going to be tough as nails to play against, and a big, big energy line for this club.
Not to mention, you also added one of our old kind of pests. He's definitely chippy in Jujhar Khaira. That was very recent. And yes. I'm telling you, you're going to like him. He works his ass off, and he will scrap. and he'll get in those dirty areas. He ain't going to score a lot, but
Mhm.
on a bad team with the Hawks for 2 years, he still managed to kind of stand out, and like we knew his name. And no, not just because it's a cool name. Like you knew his name. He did stand out. He's not scoring, but it was always funny. He was one of the few where he was just good for Juju Harris shoots, and what the hell? It went in. What? Like it just random snipe from a guy that can't snipe. Like, it's just, he's just good for those random out of the blue, just depth goals that you might need. And most of them are chippy. And that's huge into positioning yourself in the division.
Yeah. People don't realize that even your guys who are, your enforcers and your shutdown type of players who you're counting on for maybe 5 goals a season, those guys still have to be able to shoot the puck at an NHL level, or they're not.
Everyone has to be a superstar. That's the only way teams win.
Yeah, if you're not scoring 50 goals, you're worthless, right?
Yeah. Toronto. Sorry.
Yeah. The point being, like, you still have to be able to shoot the puck at that level to make it to the NHL. Like, you have to have a good shot, or you're not going to make it. You have to be a good skater, or you're not going to make it.
Now I have a question for you.
Before you ask that, let me just finish up on Kara. I just want to say, if I ever complain about the Wild having too much center depth, slap me, please. Like, it has never been a thing, so I am absolutely not going to complain about the Kara signing. Actually, and some people are going to look at that and go, why'd they do it? They need the center depth.
That's a good point, too. Let me look up the numbers really quick, because I'm pretty sure he's pretty damn halfway decent in the face-off circle. Let me see.
Right around 48% for career.
With the Blackhawks. So for career, he's 46.5.
Okay.
And with the Blackhawks, his first season with us, he was over 50. He was 52.5. And then last year, he dropped and went 48.4. But again, like, you're hovering around that. And then, so 46.5 on his career. And I mean, he posted a 51.5 with the Oilers. There's a 45, another 45. His highest was 2 seasons ago with us with the 52.5. So, he can win faceoffs too. Like, he's not just some center scrub that's going to be chippy. He can win faceoffs.
And they need that. The penalty kill in particular in the playoffs against Dallas was brutal. It was so bad.
Toss him on your second line PK. Like,
because as the season goes on, I mean, you want, for example, Marco Rossi to be, or Rossi. He's gone back and forth on how he's pronouncing it.
Are you serious? I was always right then. I'm going Rossi. Rossi.
Well, here's the thing. Technically, it is Rossi, but because Americans have a hard time with rolling the R, that's why he says Rossi.
You're also talking to a Chicagoan, so I don't. Rossi.
Yeah.
Marco Rossi. That Marco Rossi guy. He's going to be good. You think he likes sausage on his deep dish pizza?
You know where he's going to go play if it doesn't work out? Bears. Same way.
Hey, he'd probably be better than any lineman we have. Other than Darnell Wright. I'm sorry. Other than Darnell Wright.
I can't say that. I'm sorry.
What the hell? No, say it. You don't just do that. We pause the hockey talk for 30 seconds. What were you going to say?
Maybe you can count on one hand the number of people that Marco Rossi wouldn't be better than on the roster. Possibly including the quarterback.
Yeah. Probably. I got DJ Moore and Darnell Wright. That's all I got for you right now.
It's bad. I'm sorry.
Give me Tremaine Edmonds too.
The Bears, boy, did they have a week last week. I mean, yeah.
No.
We had Vikings Bears in 3 weeks.
That's an easy win. By the way, we'll talk about it later. In my survivor pool, I want to take the Vikings this week. Am I stupid or is it good? Get the woe is me mentality out of here. Should I do it?
Boy, I don't know.
It's the Panthers, man.
I know, but the Panthers are winless. The Vikings are winless. And I'm going to be at that game. So we'll see how things go there. But yeah, I'll be
That's
at that
right.
game. The thing that scares me is the Adam Thielen grudge match factor. His first game against his old club.
But who's throwing to him? No.
Well, it depends. If
who's
he's
throwing
healthy,
to him can't see over the O-line.
I mean, Andy Dalton played last week for the injured Bryce Young and found injured. Thielen for a touchdown.
My bad. I forgot that Bryce Young is injured. I forgot.
Yeah. So,
but for anyone still listening to our football banter, maybe we'll do a football podcast someday. Who knows? Back to your Minnesota
I don't know
Wild.
About a full show, but we'll see. Yeah,
not a full show.
Back to the Wild. Hopeful that by the end of the year, Marco Rossi is in the top 6.
Rossi.
We'll see how that plays out. It looks like he's going to start the season on the third line. Taylor Swift from the Bears.
I'm still a Swiftie. I don't care. She can write shit she can write a shit talk song about Chicago and I'll still love it. All right, go on.
Yeah, I had a Taylor Swift joke lined up and I lost it. So
once upon a time, almost dated Patrick Kane while he was a Blackhawk.
Thank God that didn't happen.
Why?
No, that no.
Just, power couple.
Just no.
Power couple.
Just no.
Power couple.
Moving on. You know what?
We're done. Was that it? Was that it for the Wild?
I think so. We covered a lot of the stuff there. So big things from Kaprizov, big things from Boldy, big things from Gus Bus.
I have one final thought on it.
Yep.
Oh, actually, that's the question I wanted to ask you about the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this year is your last year in cap prison or next year is?
Next year. So they've got 2 more years and 14.7 mil.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
HP's with me. Hard no on.
So I mean,
I did have one more thing on the Wild. It just
paint me a picture then, where this season goes as well, maybe even better than last season.
Mm-hmm.
I know you got a lot of lot more younger faces trying to come up, make a name right now.
Mm-hmm.
Does one of those younger faces get called up if things are going really well, but your only question mark ends up being goaltending? And you know who I'm going to say.
This is not the year to bring up Jesper Wallstedt.
Okay.
I mean, you need to be.
I agree. By the way, I'm
dealing with a boatload of injuries for him to be called up. I think he needs one more year in Iowa. This is going to be Fleury's last year. He needs 8 more wins to move past Patrick Waugh for second all time. He will do it.
I think you guys keep him till he does it, and then you trade him.
No. His contract will run out at the end of the year. They won't re-sign him.
That's actually, yeah.
Wallstedt up.
Yeah.
No, the only way that he would get traded is if the Wild are way out of it.
That's true.
Come the deadline.
That's true.
Looking at the rest of the Western Conference, and in particular looking at the Central, they should be in decent shape.
You will be. We're going to get to the overarching thing, but the Central is pretty damn weak. You should be fine.
And you're right. I am looking forward to seeing, does Adam Beckman get a shot? Does Sammy Walker get a shot? Maybe you call him up for a game or two just to get him the experience of it, especially if you're maybe in a longer homestand and can give some guys an extra night off.
What's the limit again before it starts counting for his contract? Is it 8 games or are goaltenders different?
That's a great question. I don't know if goaltenders have different contract slider rules for, when it kicks out of their waivers exemption. That is a good question. I'll have to look that up before we get to the next show. That said, though, the last thing that I think we're going to see here is how the captain's situation is going to fall with Matt Dumba leaving this offseason. He wore the A last season for Minnesota. So who are they going to have taking over as one of their captains? And Joel, if I had to put it on you to come up with who who you would give the A to, knowing that last season they had Dumba, Eriksson Ek, and Foligno wore the A, Spurgeon wore the C.
Yep.
Who do you think moves in for Dumba in wearing the A?
It might be the chalk answer, but I don't see why he hasn't earned it. Boldy.
I'm intrigued by that. HP saying Eriksson Ek. I hope it's Eriksson Ek.
He's wearing one, right?
He only wore it in like if Dumba wasn't in the lineup.
Oh,
was the type of deal there. So
that's what confused me. I thought he had one already. That's
no. He wore it a couple times, but the full time A's were Marcus Foligno and Matt Dumba.
That's probably the right answer. Then I thought he had it, but I mean,
I didn't set you up for success on that question.
But so still, I mean, like I don't know. Like there's something.
I kind of thought maybe Jonas Brodin might be.
I'm gonna call it in maybe 2 years. I'm gonna say 2 years. Look at that, right when you're out of cap prison. Brock Faber will wear an A.
Oh, God, that is music to my ears if he gets to do.
I don't know, man. What I saw from him, very little, obviously, but I did watch of him in the playoffs, like I get it. But hey, the playoffs are the stage where when you call people up and they show up and show out like that. I don't know, man.
Poise of a 5-year vet.
Exactly.
And he had played 2 games at that point, pretty much.
I actually, don't quote me on this, and it's probably going to get you excited. Don't quote me, but I thought I might have heard on one of the broadcasts when he had a hell of a game. No, I'm damn sure that this comparison was made. He was compared to Duncan Keith. And I was like, oh, man. I
don't think he brings the offensive upside of someone like Keith.
They were talking of the defensive side specifically.
In his own zone. If he is in the D zone, what Keith was in the D zone,
totally separate too. The CHGO guys, the Blackhawks podcast that I listen to all the time. I love them, by the way. Listeners, send this to them. They like my tweets all the time. No. When they were doing episodes during the playoffs and they were dissecting Brock Faber's breakout game that he had, they compared him. They went deeper and compared him to Seabrook. Again, not on the offensive side, but just the crazy blocks and slide stick checks he was making.
His Superman dive in the playoffs.
Exactly. And that to me was in my brain without the comparisons being made. To me, it reminded me of a lot of Seabrook's moves. But anyway, so you're welcome. I will talk you up on there because I do really like Brock Faber. And that scares me because we have to play against him when we're eventually good again.
He's so good. And he's going to continue to be very, very good. I wonder if the defensive pairings have Middleton with Spurgeon on the top pairing and Brodin with Faber on 2. Good luck. Like, to me, that's your top 4. You go Kalen Addison, and then you're rotating in between Goligoski and Merrill. Probably more likely you're going to see Merrill there, but Goligoski's going to get some mix in as well.
Yep.
It's a fun D group. Winnipeg Jets, 95 points on the year last year. This is kind of where you see the first jump in the standings. We had the 100-point teams, and then we've got a couple of 90-point teams here. Winnipeg finished 4th in the Central Division. But lost 4-1 to Vegas in the first round. Never any shame in bowing out to the eventual champion. But Winnipeg, to say their offseason was somewhat turbulent.
Yeah,
see what I did there?
That's it. I just got it.
Yep. A little bit. Some big shakeup there. Blake Wheeler out. Pierre-Luc Dubois traded. Winnipeg, there is raw talent there that could carry this team to a top 3, maybe top 2 finish. There is also the potential for this season to blow up in their face, especially if things are going bad around the deadline, and Connor Hellebuck in a contract year says, I want out.
And he is very much still reportedly unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I mean, if they don't get a deal done, and it sounds like they're not even close, and same thing with Scheifele too. Like you said, both UFAs at the end of the year. Both would be damn good rentals for some contending teams at the deadline, especially Hellebuck. Oh God, can you picture Hellebuck going to like the Devils?
I think the Devils, to me, they're not the ones who would go get him.
Edmonton, they need him.
Edmonton would be a fit. I'm trying to think who else might.
Toronto?
Maybe Toronto, but again, that's if Samsonov is hurt, if Murray is still on IR. You would need a lot to happen just to have the room to afford him.
Yeah, but either way.
To
your point and to your turbulent joke, I think we're going to see more of the latter of what we're saying as opposed to the former of, they still do have the talent to get what?
The Buffalo Sabres. If you have rookie Devin Levi and he doesn't quite, like if he needs a little more seasoning in the A and you rock UPL backing up Hellebuck, I get it. It's a rental and maybe Buffalo doesn't want to quite do that, but
I mean, Buffalo's probably got some cap space where we don't have to look it up.
They can afford the move. And
they could afford to re-sign him.
That would only be, I think, if Luukkonen isn't looking like he's going to be the guy long term.
Give him 2 years. Give him a 2-year deal.
I think UPL is going to be mid-tier starter. Levi is definitely the guy long term, but
right. Okay, that's fair.
But that could be. I'm just going to throw it out there. Potential landing spot if they decide to move on.
Smart. But to your point too, obviously you said Pierre-Luc Dubois was probably the biggest. I guess outside of Blake Wheeler, as they're moving out in the process of moving out Pierre-Luc Dubois, they bring in Iafallo, Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kapari.
I think they won that trade.
I mean, I think they did too in the long term, just because we talked about it. Like Pierre-Luc Dubois on 3 teams, and he's only 25, I think we said, or 26 maybe. There's something up. There's a character issue there somewhere, and I think part of that you could tell with Winnipeg's locker room issues they had last year. Like, not to mention Wheeler getting stripped to the sea. Like, maybe he had something to do with it. I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they did win that trade in the long term, but I don't think it pays off right away.
Yeah. I've always liked Alex Iafallo going back to his days at Minnesota.
I know you have.
I am not even going to lie. There's a bias there. Like, I love the dude.
I get it, but those are 3 very solid names to add just for one name that potentially might have been a locker room cancer. We don't know. I'm not saying he was, but if that is the case, and it sounds like it might be, like, that's a win.
Yeah. Plus, Iafallo, good leadership dude as well.
Right.
And I'm happy that I'll get to see him play more now that he's in the Central Division. But did he have to go to Winnipeg? Like, man,
wow.
That part kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's going to be weird for the Jets. I don't know. It's going to be a very, I said it at the beginning. It's going to be mid. They got some good names on their roster still too, that aren't in the category of, a little salty, if you will. Cole Perfetti, Niederreiter is on the Jets.
Cole Perfetti, I think, is going to have a monster year this year. I really thought the Wild were going to take him at number 9, and they went with Marco Rossi. I was really, really hoping it was going to be Perfetti. You can't quite judge the two the same way now, given that Rossi had to miss a year with the heart condition.
Yep.
Not a fair comparison, but
no,
Cole Perfetti, solid player, has a big opportunity this year. I don't think he'll have a Jack Hughes level breakout, but I think he will still have. I would not be surprised to see him be point per game pace or better this year.
Nick Suzuki, maybe.
I think higher ceiling than Suzuki.
Well, higher ceiling, but like a breakout that like a Suzuki had.
I think
Caulfield, perhaps.
I think even more than that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. And I mean, obviously, like you said, you got names like Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, like
those guys are always good.
They're always good. Kyle Connor has proven to be potentially their best player, I would say. Maybe at least their best prolific scorer. The most prolific scorer, I should say.
Ehlers, when they give him the ice time, scores. But I just can't for the life of me understand their usage with Ehlers. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Never has. But he's always good. Always a threat to score. Kyle Connor, we bring up underrated players on this show, and the rule is anytime you mention someone as the most underrated player, they're no longer underrated.
Right.
Put some respect on Kyle Connor.
No,
that's all I'm going to say.
I'm with you.
He's stupid good.
We'll get to where we have the finish, but it's going to be a weird season for the Jets. I think
doesn't get the respect he deserves. Nashville Predators finished 5th in the Central last year, 92 points, so they were 3 back of Winnipeg. Joel, this team
did some things.
they did some things. I have no idea where the goals are going to come from this team. This team finished 28th in goals last season and then shipped out their leading scorer.
Yep.
I don't understand the move. I mean, I kind of do. You're getting rid of the contract, not necessarily the player.
They pulled off moves I would somewhat compare to the team we're going to talk about right after them, the Blues, where it's like they made their moves, shipping out Matt Duchene, Ryan Johansson, the biggest ones. Obviously, Cal Foote was in there too. Like, they did. That's a move to me, moving out those 2 top guys I just mentioned. That says, okay, we're going to commit. We're going to rebuild this thing, or at least hard retool. If they're not going to say the words rebuild, I know it's a swear word to a lot of GMs,
especially to Barry Trotz.
Well, right, bringing in Barry Trotz, and that's why I have a little, I guess not hope, because screw Nashville, but I have faith because Barry Trotz is a legend. He's a legend as a coach. That dude's hockey mind is off the charts, so I think that's why he's going to do very well in that GM seat. His first year, though. It's like a lot of the moves that were made technically weren't him. Yeah,
he advised the moves.
Exactly.
Made things happen behind the scenes.
Exactly. Have the final say so, which maybe he did. Who knows? We don't know what goes on, but it was very weird. But I guess the argument that you can make, and that I'm Ryan O'Reilly, but this is where I'm getting to my whole, like, they made the rebuild moves, but then all of a sudden you bring in Ryan O'Reilly, who is very good, but he's very much not getting younger. You bring in a Gustav Nyquist, decent scorer, but kind of
great scorer
exactly,
and great skater.
Exactly. You brought back the speed that you got rid of when shipping Matt Duchene out. Bringing in Dennis Garyanov, Luke Shen on the back end, and the other thing too is bringing in Andrew Brunette to be your head coach.
Yes, I like that move.
I do too. I like what he did in Florida. And yeah, I know he had a more talented team in Florida, but just all words about him being a coach, like he can be he's a good leader.
And then he got
a
golf cart.
Hey,
happens to the best of us.
Hey, you can be a good leader and still go have fun. Yeah, I don't know. I'm with you, man. It's weird. Nashville's weird. I don't really know what to make of them. What did you say to me about their finish?
I said they have the defense and goaltending to finish first in the division and the goal scoring to finish last.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
They shipped out a third of their power play goals from last season. I don't see where the offense is coming from. I mean, I get it. Nyquist can be a scorer. Ryan O'Reilly, good puck facilitator, good offense facilitator. But when I think O'Reilly, I think more of the defensive upside that he brings. So I can't.
Philip Forsberg, he's going to put up 50 goals. No.
I mean, that's what it'll take. But Forsberg's not a scorer either. Again, he's kind of a facilitator. So
right,
he's the guy that your offense goes through, but so is O'Reilly.
Right.
Nyquist, fantasy value-wise, from a goal scoring, if he stays healthy, I would put money on him being the leading scorer for this club next year. But you can't rely on one line to score and be a playoff team. You have to get your middle six scoring. You have to get depth scoring. Roman Josi can't score 50 goals this season.
Right.
Like
he can't put up.
He has the talent to do it, but he should not be the one taking all those shots.
I do like that top four. I assume what their top 4D pairing is, though. I do like that Josi, McDonough, Luke Shen, Tyson Barrie. Like that's
a really solid D group. And then Fabro and Carrier aren't slouches either.
No, that's a solid third pairing right there. Like,
yeah,
that's why I agree with you. Like they have the defense and goaltending, maybe not to finish first, but like second or third, but everything else. I don't know.
If you're combining defense with goaltending, I think they have the best group in the division.
Right.
If you're looking at just the best defense, Colorado. If you're looking at best goaltending situation, Dallas or Minnesota. But if you're looking at that tandem, not to mention as well, by the way, Nashville has Yaroslav Askarov in the pipeline.
Yeah.
I've mentioned him a few times on this show. Guy's a stud. He's probably going to be your best goaltender in the AHL this season. Nashville just continues to always have good goaltenders in their system, always. That they have Askarov coming up behind Saros, they're set for the next decade. Like, they really are. They just have to get some guys who can put the puck in the net. And that's what it's really going to come down to for Nashville.
We'll see what happens.
Now to a club where I don't know what to make of the defense and goaltending situation, but the forward group seems reasonably locked in, and part of that is just the long-term deals that their top six forwards have. St. Louis Blues, 6th in the Central last year, 81 points. The Blues really had, I don't want to say they had the roughest season in the division, but perhaps relative to their expectations. People knew Chicago and Arizona were going to be bad.
Yep.
People knew Nashville was going to be a bubble team. There was a lot of talk of St. Louis as being a top 2 or 3 team in this division last season. A 6th place finish, shipping out O'Reilly, shipping out Tarasenko, watching Binnington melt down and try to fight Fleury.
God.
It was such a weird year for the Blues. And then to turn around and see the St. Louis Cardinals be as bad as they were this year. The St. Louis sports is just I had to get that one in there for you.
Music to my
you were pumping up Minnesota's tires earlier. I can give you some Chicago love by mentioning how bad St. Louis sports is right now.
Music to my ears. I went to a Cardinals game this year against the Mets, and they got trounced.
Cardinals were bad.
Vogelbach had a grand slam on them.
The Blues, I think their forward group steadies out. I think their defense, again, can this group stay healthy? And in particular, looking at Scott Perunovich as can he be healthy? Because if he can, that definitely steadies things out for that room. But that's a much older defense group that you're looking at. Nick Leddy, Torrey Krug, Justin Falk, Colton Parayko, Robert Bortuzzo. You need some youth coming up through there. If Scott Perunovich isn't it, this Blues team is in trouble.
An old defensive group. It is the oldest in the entire league, I believe it is. Or at least in the division, yeah.
Certainly in the division, yeah. Probably league.
I thought it was I thought I read. Hold on. Yep, it is the oldest in the league. 5 of their top 6 are in between 30 and 33. Yep.
Also, I think they drafted like 4 or 5 left shot defensemen, and they don't have like they have maybe 1 right shot D man in the pipeline.
Yep.
It doesn't make sense.
And look, as much as I hate them, I do think they're going to be just like peeing down their leg pretty bad. Because like you said, I agree. The forward units, like they'll stabilize, they'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know what the hell they're doing. I mentioned it with Nashville, but we've talked about this before about the Blues when we were talking about like off-season stuff. Like, just you thought they were just going to click the rebuild button, and then they just started adding and didn't get any younger on the back end at all. And it was just like, what's happening here? Now, I will give them credit where credit is due. Grabbing Kasperi Kapanen off waivers and then also acquiring Jacob Vrana. Solid, but
some good moves for last season. Yeah.
The
one to me that is just a head scratcher is going out and getting Kevin Hayes.
Exactly.
It doesn't quite make sense to me why they did that.
That's where I think like all of that was where I was like, okay, Blues are going to be doing what we're doing. They're going to rebuild. And then they did that. And I was like, okay. If nothing else, to put a bow on the Blues, I think they're going to be bad because Jordan Binnington sucks.
Yeah.
That's not even a bias either. He sucks as a person and he sucks as a goalie.
With Joel Hofer nipping at his heels too. Hofer had a solid season in the AHL last year.
Who's the Blues prospect though? Big name.
What position?
Forward.
Like the guy they just drafted this year?
No. He's been in the system, I think, a year or two. And I remember you wanted him in our that fantasy league we were in. What the hell's his name? I can't think of his name. Maybe he's on their list here, even though he's not going to make the roster.
Oh, Jake Neighbors?
No.
Neighbors is kind of their top forward prospect, and he will be up with the big club this year. Otherwise, it was Perunovic.
I cannot think of it right. I'll look it up, but we can move on from the Blues. I got to look that up. I know there's a prospect waiting in the wings that scared me.
All right. Well, speaking of a team that's got prospects in the wings, the Arizona Coyotes, they have just an absurd amount of draft capital over the next couple of years. They have some of the guys that they have drafted with their draft capital starting to make appearances. Logan Cooley and Dylan Genther are going to make up a very, very fun
I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for your Minnesota loss.
Oh, man. If Cooley stays with the Gophers, that team wins a national championship this year. Period. Full stop.
Hey.
They're that good.
It's okay. They have another leader that can lead you to the promised land.
They do.
They do.
We're gonna talk about him.
We're
gonna talk about him in a little bit.
No.
Just remind
me what his name is. No. HP,
I'm right with you, buddy.
That is rough. Oh, by the way, I thought Jimmy Snuggerud.
Snuggerud, yeah, because he's still. That's why I couldn't think of him because he's still with the Gophers.
Right. Yes.
But
I know he looks scary.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be good. Because that would have been the pairing again. Is you have Snuggerud right back there with Logan Cooley, and then you have Oliver Moore on your second forward line.
Right.
Yeah. HP said Snuggerud.
That's who it was. I was like, he's got a fun name to say. I can't remember what it is though.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, I mean, dude, the Coyotes, like, yeah, they were bad, but at the same time, like
they were bad, but they were scrap like 14 overtime losses, shootout losses.
That's
a lot.
those coin flip games. Like
Mhm.
that could change. Will it? Probably not, because they have literally no goaltending. But
Well, I mean, Carl Vejmelka had some moments last year where he really looked good, but the team defense around him, like,
exactly.
he is a better goaltender than his numbers showed, and he stole some games for them last year. Multiple 50 save performances.
Like their defensive roster right now, and obviously rosters aren't finalized. I get that, but it's so thin, and the only standout to me is like Matt Dumba.
Going out and getting Matt Dumba was solid, both from a leadership standpoint for a younger group, but also Dumba is going to be a first-line defenseman. And then they went out and traded for Sean Dursey to add to their second line. Yep. Third pairing of Troy Stetcher and Josh Brown. Like, they overhauled their defense a bit.
Yeah.
Plus, Moser and Valimaki, some guys that they drafted relatively early. You can see the framework of this roster.
Our boy, Jason Zucker.
Him too, but strictly speaking on the defense,
yeah,
you can kind of see how this whole structure is coming together. By the way, Zucker is probably the one who's going to be on the line with Cooley and Genther.
Oh,
that's probably the line.
Yes,
that's going to be a really fun line to watch.
Zucker's about to have another crazy point season just for that reason.
Yeah, just feeding off of those guys and their energy. And Zucker, just a fast player to begin with overall.
Right.
That's going to be a really, really fun line. I hope the Coyotes can get out of Mullet Arena. It's a great spot for a game, but you're an NHL club. You can't be getting by with a 5,000-seat arena.
You can't be playing at a college. It's just
they need a full-size barn. I hope they get a deal done. I hope it happens before they move to another city.
It sounds like something in, I believe it was Mesa, is starting to unfold a little bit.
There's been some talks. I'm hopeful, so hopeful that they can stay in Arizona and not have to move to Atlanta or Quebec City or Salt Lake City, which actually Salt Lake City has been talked about as if the NHL was to expand again. Atlanta and Salt Lake City are kind of the top two markets they're looking at.
I thought Houston was another one they were looking at.
Houston is up there as well. Houston is probably number 3, but also Houston is just growing so rapidly.
Yeah.
That's why the NHL wants to try and get in on that. I hope the Coyotes can stay in Arizona and get some stability there because they have so much talent that's going to be coming through over the next couple of years. It's going to be a really, really fun team.
Why do you want to bring back the Thrashers?
Thrashers had some cool jerseys. I'll fight anyone who says otherwise. Yeah. Their jerseys slapped.
Thrashers, that's a bad memory for me because that's where half of my 2010 Cup team went. And by half, I mean 2 of my favorites.
Because they were the team that could afford it.
Right, exactly.
Joel, the time has come.
Yeah, the team that is dead last year and probably again this year, the Chicago Blackhawks.
Cannot start this segment without talking about the player that they took in the first round, and I absolutely hate that you lucked your way into him. The tank paid off.
Yeah,
you managed to get Oliver Moore. Congratulations.
I knew that's where you were going with that.
Oh, I had to do that bit. No, Connor Bedard. You got Bedard and you got Oliver Moore. It's the best draft luck in the history of the league. And I hate you so much for it.
Blame the teams before us that didn't take him. All right.
Yeah. I do.
HP, you want some salt for your salt? Yes. Yeah. That painful, terrible season was worth it. And it's to the point now, like we were joking around about the Bears and Chicago sports in general. The Sox and the Bulls are terrible too. And Cubs are fine, but the Blackhawks of the 4 men's sports, obviously the Sky are the team that.
The 5 men's sports?
4 major. Sorry.
Did you forget about the White Sox?
What? Sports, baseball, hockey, football, basketball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Blackhawks.
No, not teams, sports. Like just sports, not teams. No. Yeah. Of that, the Hawks at this point are now the least dysfunctional front office in the city, which 2 years ago, if you would have told me that was going to happen, I would have said you were high because of everything that was happening.
Yeah, 2 years ago, nobody's saying that.
No, obviously, everything happened there. We ship out all of that front office, deservedly so. They make a hire in. They're actually so. I will take a pause. Fifth Third Arena is pretty dysfunctional. They're about to do like a $2 million renovation on it again, so it'll be a little better. I just saw that they just got like approval to do a bunch of renovations on it, so yeah, it'll be okay. HP, but anyway,
HP has some horror stories in Fifth Third Arena.
I know, I've heard that's probably why they got the like zoning and shit to actually do this. It's a couple $2 million like renovation there, but anyway, yeah, I mean, the Blackhawks did a lot of things where, hell, even I questioned, like, all right, obviously you ship out everyone involved in the Kyle Beach stuff, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now we get better as an organization slowly from there. You hire Kyle Davidson. I ain't gonna lie to you, I was confused, but I was like, all right, I mean, he's been there since I think he was like an intern or something. Like, well, yeah, exactly. He's been there forever. It was an interesting move, but I think the correct move because, man, has he shown I will lay my balls on the table and do things that people are not going to like, but it's for the good of the future of this franchise. It took massive cojones to go and say, Patrick Kane, look, we'll take care of you wherever you want to get traded to. We'll make it happen, but we're gonna move on from you. Jonathan Taves, not going to trade you, but we'll give you your swan song at the end of the season, whatever you choose to do with your health, whether that's retire, move on. We're not going to re-sign you. There's no, keep them around and let them finish their careers here and spend all that money just to, have them.
Yeah, they'll eventually sign their one-day contracts, retire as Blackhawks. They'll do that.
19 and 88 will both be in the rafters, just like 81 is in there, just like 2 will be in there. Like, it's fine. That took a lot of guts to do that. And he did, I referenced this earlier in the show. He did and said what most GMs in all sports are too afraid to ever say in public and said the word, we are rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
He came out and said
it. Kyle from Chicago.
Kyle from Chicago. And yeah, I mean, 8th in the Central last year, probably going to be 8th in the Central again this year. 26, 49, 7, 59 points. Obviously didn't qualify for the playoffs. But yes, like you said, the first round for the ages, the tank did pay off. Connor Bedard is a Blackhawk. Oliver Moore fell into our laps. Not that he's going to be up this year anyway. Probably next year if we all hope. But I'm okay if he's not
give
here.
Him 2 seasons with the Gophers.
I know. That's fine. Like 2 seasons.
He's going to lose his mind if he gets 1 season of Oliver Moore in Minnesota before he goes to Chicago.
Something tells me like he'll spend 2 seasons there. Because what is he, a sophomore?
No, he's an incoming freshman.
Oh, he's an incoming freshman. Okay, there you go. Like, why not?
Yeah, give him 2 years. Let him get ready. And then by the time that Chicago's competitive window is starting to open up again, that's when you call him up. And
exactly. And like, look, there's
those two being your number 1 and number 2 centers for the next however long it ends up being. Like, that kills me. They're gonna be so stupid good.
Hey, and here's the other thing. What's gonna kill you is we're gonna get another top 5 to 8 pick in this coming draft, and we have two picks in that first round too. So, like, again,
who's the other first round pick you have?
Tampa's. Tampa gave us 2 first-round picks for.
That's right, in the Hagel deal, right?
For Hagel, we spent one. We spent one on Oliver Moore, and then the other will be next year. And then we have 2 first-rounders again. I forgot who that is. Following year, I forgot. Toronto. How did we get that? Was that the McCabe trade?
That was the. Come on, Cat Friendly. That was the McCabe trade. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. I was like, how the hell did we get a first-round pick for that?
Yeah. McCabe, Lafferty, and 2/5.
Actually, believe it or not, I think Lafferty was the big first round there because he's a little younger. But yeah, so
we also have the second round pick in 26. So
right. So like we are stockpiled on draft picks to either make those picks or, as you said, if the rebuild does truly speed up way faster than we think, I don't think it's going to be that fast, even with Bedard, the Bedard effect. Like now we have some draft capital to trade to people for bringing in, free agents, rentals, whatever. But like outside of that, you got up and down the roster. We add in players, some nice veteran players for Connor Bedard to be surrounded by in Taylor Hall, Nick Foligno, Corey Perry, Ryan Donato. In fact, Ryan Donato and Taylor Hall were on Connor Bedard's line in the training camp scrimmages for the last couple of days. It sounds like that might be the top line.
If that's Bedard's line, he is going to finish this season with 8 goals and 57 assists. Like just a crazy goal to assist rate because those guys want the puck and they want to shoot. Bedard is all too happy to pass the puck. And I mean, he has a good shot. Like his release is insane on a shot. Just seeing the videos from camp and from the
showcase against the Wild,
like what we're going to see in the preseason when the games sort of matter a little more.
Yeah.
Like the shot is absolutely there, but he's also going to be such a good facilitator of the offense that Taylor Hall will be getting 5 shots a game consistently. If Donato's on that line, he will also be getting 5 shots a game consistently.
Take the
That's
over.
going to translate to assists.
Take the over on Taylor Hall shots a game.
Yeah, hammer that over and hammer Bedard's season assist prop total over.
Right. And that's the thing too. Like Taylor Hall was kind of forgotten. He was on a historic Bruins team last year, but he was playing on the third line, I think, or something, just because they were so stacked. He's still got a lot of good hockey left in him, and now he doesn't. That's the thing. He's coming to a bad team, and it's going to be a shift for him. Obviously, you go from a historic record-breaking Bruins team to a very much rebuilding Blackhawks team, but he doesn't have to be the guy. He's not the guy, but he's not expected to be the guy. So that's almost just like he can just go out there and just go be you, man. You got Connor Bedard on your line. That probably won't get broken up. Like, just go have fun. Go be you. But yeah, I mean, outside of those cool ads that I just mentioned, outside of some of the decent pieces that are going to stay on the team and that are pretty decent players. I mean, Lucas Reichel, hopefully he's about to have a breakout season. He's looking like he's ready to finally, he's going to get his first, obviously barring injuries, first 82 game full NHL season. He's poised to hopefully play pretty well. He wants to play well. Taylor Radish is another good play. I like him a lot. You got Reese Johnson, Tyler Johnson. I mean, there's still some decent players here. Mackenzie
it's not like a San Jose situation where I expect them to lose by multiple goals every night. Like they're going to be.
That's kind of the thing. That's the thing. It's going to be like 5-4 type games or 6-4 type games because, we're probably going to be able to put up the goals. Also, we're going to be well coached. Luke Richardson, I love him. And I am so excited, and I hope he stays here for many, 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 many years to come. And he's cool with it, too. That's the coolest part about it. He is ready for a rebuilding team. He's fine with it. And that was the issue last year. All those times I was getting pissed off that we were competing in games we weren't supposed to compete in or winning games that we shouldn't have been winning. That's Luke Richardson. That's his coaching. His players play hard for him. He knows the game very well. He is a hockey nerd of nerds. And yet still has the best jawline in the league, too. But yeah, I mean, the other thing, but that's the thing. Like, there's not going to be any defense or goaltending to stop. Like, we could score the goals, but we ain't going to stop the goals from going in either. We're going to see. Look, I love Seth Jones. I think he's very good, but he needs another number one. Maybe this year maybe that's Kevin Korchinski. I don't know what's going to happen with him because of that stupid rule about the minors where he's too young to play in the AHL, which I think would really help him. But
yeah, because of Canadian juniors.
Yeah. I hate it. I hate it so much because I don't think I don't think he'll benefit from spending an entire season in Seattle again.
Yeah. Where he was not only one of the top defensemen in the WHL, he was one of the best defensemen in all of Canadian juniors last year.
Exactly.
At what point does it almost hurt your development to stay there one more year and not be playing against better competition? There is talk that Seattle has filed the exemption for Shane Wright to put him at the AHL this year. It would not surprise me if Chicago looks for a similar exemption to get him to Rockford.
I think they would have tried to cross that bridge already, though. That's the thing.
I think
and
so,
I
too.
haven't heard anything, so I don't.
Too late, but
yeah,
that to me, the NHL needs to change that deal because there are some guys who, like Shane Wright, like Kevin Korchinski, are better than that Canadian juniors level, but really need AHL time to develop.
Yep.
That makes too much sense.
So
what can you tell me about Wyatt Kaiser while we're talking about Chicago here? Because I just picked him up in a dynasty fantasy league, and I have liked everything I've heard about Wyatt Kaiser.
So have I, and it's to the point where it actually sounds like he might be coming up to the big club this year. I don't know about start the season, but it sounds like with his camp, both the prospect showcase and now training camp, we'll see how he does in the preseason. Like, he is really proving himself. I'm excited, and that's kind of where I say, like, look, we're not ready yet. We got big names that, for all intents and purposes, could be absolute studs, like Wyatt Kaiser, like Kevin Korchinski. Ethan Del Mastro is another name. Nolan Allen might be another name that could make the team this year. Alex Vlasic, you've talked ad nauseum about him. But the thing is you got to prove it. So until you truly do prove it, your top defensemen are Seth Jones and Connor Murphy. Solid, but that's not enough. Nikita Zaitsev is in there. Jared Tenorti for as long as he's here. Like, maybe Isaac Phillips makes the team. There ain't much. And where the defense is, the goaltending is even worse. You got Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom. Soderblom he's fine. He's a serviceable NHL goaltender. He's not a superstar. And he's not the budding, star in development. For us, that's Drew Comesso. And he's going to be with Rockford all season, and I think that's where he should stay. Maybe bring him up a couple games just to try him out against another bad team. Maybe if we play Arizona or we play like a Montreal or San Jose, like try him out against the lower tiered teams where maybe can get a little confidence, but still send him back down to Rockford most of the year. He's not. We aren't ready, but I don't think he is either. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, dude, I think you taking Wyatt Kaiser is smart. I haven't studied too much of his offensive upside, but
I heard he sniped somebody pretty good in a prospect game or a practice the other day. I'm not sure what it was, but
he's got a shot. He has a shot.
Excited for that at least. So hopefully that pickup turns into something. Joel, we have already gone for an hour 20, and we haven't even gotten to our standings prediction. So let's get to that here. I'm going to put it full screen, and we'll talk behind it, but we'll have you read your Central Division standings here. We'll have you start off with that.
Sounds good. So first in the Central this year will be the Dallas Stars. I think it's probably a coin flip between the Avs and the Stars, but the Stars have only developed even further. They stayed pretty much the same, and like you said at the beginning of the show, Colorado took first last year, but nipping at their heels all damn season were the Stars, and I think this year the Stars can actually take that. Now, that's not to have any disrespect against number 2, the Colorado Avalanche. I think this 1-2 is going to be split by 3-4 points at most, if not literally a tiebreaker. That's how close these two teams are to me. Colorado is ready and primed to try and make another run at the Cup after having their hangover season. And like we said, even in a hangover season, they still took first in the division. So I only put Dallas here because I just think they are that damn good, and they're going to build off the last two seasons where they have looked that damn good. Number 3, we're the same, Minnesota Wild. I get it. You're in cap prison, but any team that has Kirill Kaprizov has a chance, in my opinion. Not to mention all the other stuff you mentioned. Your goaltending situation is very good. Defense is solid despite losing Dumba. I like the Wild's window is still opening. Obviously, it won't be fully open until you get out of cap prison. So in 2 years, that'll be scary. Marco Rossi is, I think he's poised to finally break out. Not necessarily a huge breakout or anything. Not Matt Boldy, maybe, but maybe. Because that's, I think he's going to be good too. Number 4, we said this is a swing. I do have 4th being the Predators. Does that necessarily mean they're making the playoffs? I mean, I guess technically, because that could be good enough.
Maybe depends what the Pacific does.
That's where I was kind of getting at is like, even though I have them in 4th, I still think that the teams in the Pacific can pass the Preds for those other wild card spots.
Mm-hmm.
The Preds, like we said, it's weird, but they did add some. They did add where they did subtract, so it kind of evened itself out. We'll see, and like you said, that defense and goaltending is good enough to keep them in the race at least a little bit. So I have them at 4. At 5, I have the Winnipeg Jets, and that could literally go from 5-4 to 6. It's going to depend on what the hell happens with Hellebuck and Scheifele, and I think that's going to go south. So if that goes south, especially early on, you lose those two, you ain't looking too hot. So 6, I have the St. Louis Blues. They are going to be lower than mid. I've seen other predictions that have them higher than that, and I've seen them all the way at 3. I don't necessarily see where they're getting that from. I know that they have that kind of offensive potential to do such a thing as maybe get into a wild card, but I don't see it. And my biggest argument is when Jordan Binnington is your starting goaltender, that's going to work against you pretty much every night. And then the Arizona Coyotes in 7th. It's the Arizona Coyotes. And then, yes, the Hawks, again, despite Connor Bedard, despite all the prospects still need to develop. So without much of a defense and without much goaltending, we can score 5 goals a night potentially, but we're going to let up 6, 7. So we'll probably finish 8th. It's not going to be as bad. We'll finish with more than 59 points. Probably Bedard alone can add another 6 or 7, maybe even 8 points to our total, but it's still going to be last.
To me, the Nashville Predators are the New York Islanders of the Western Conference. And that the goaltending is there, the defense is there, but if you're not winning the game 1-0, you're going to lose because you can't score 2. That's kind of, to me, where Nashville is at.
Totally.
But at least for the Islanders, they have Matt Barzal.
Yep.
Nashville does not have someone with that offensive upside of Barzal. To me, I have them at 7. And again, could the defense and goaltending carry them? Yes. Is Nashville a second half of the season team? Yes. If Nashville is 8 points behind Chicago at Christmas, am I going to hit the panic button? Not quite.
I might.
It kind of depends. Like I could see them in that spot because of how good they consistently are in the second half of the season, but they also dig themselves quite a hole during the first half. So I don't know. I think the offense has kind of gotten worse over the last couple of seasons. So for me, that's why I had them 7. Chicago 8. I think we're in agreement there that
no, I get
yes,
it.
you can see the future coming together. Yes, you can see the pieces falling into place. It's still going to be a difficult year, but it is a build that is fostering competitiveness. which is one of the hardest things to do. When you've got guys competing every day in practice, you get guys competing every day in the game. That's how you turn the ship around. And if you're not competing at every level, which, by the way, Rockford this season should be competitive in the AHL Central.
Oh God, yeah.
Like that, the Central once again is going to be a dogfight this year. There's not a clear front runner. We're still getting guys signing, as it's who's getting the roster cuts at the NHL level, who's getting assigned. There's still a lot of that. It's still pretty up in the air.
Yeah.
Rockford will be good. The Iowa Wild will be good. The Milwaukee Admirals will be good. The Texas Stars will be good. Central's going to be the Moose.
Manitoba Moose.
They're going to be good. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Arizona at 6. I really debated putting them ahead of the Blues. Because
I wouldn't have argued with you.
looking at how competitive they were in the back half of last season, and knowing that you're bringing in some guys with great compete levels, you're bringing in some leadership for the younger guys, you're getting Matthias Michelli back healthy. There are some pieces. They got some dudes, if you will.
They got some dudes. Logan Cooley being the dude of dudes.
God, did you see his
I was just about to ask
goal the other night? Like,
yes,
the puck skills, like it's just ridiculous. Did go with St. Louis 5. I did think the forward group for St. Louis is better than the forward group for Arizona. Defense and goaltending between those two, maybe a slight edge to the Blues, but not too much. It was kind of a wash.
Oh, no, I'd take Logan Cooley over any of their forwards.
Logan Cooley individually, yes. Dylan Gunther individually, yes. But as the makeup of the whole group, I think St. Louis has more depth there, so I went with them.
Yep.
Winnipeg 4, and then our top 3 were the same, with Dallas 1, Colorado 2, Minnesota 3.
Yep.
Dallas and Colorado, you will be able to count on one hand the number of points separating them at the end of the year.
I agree.
You might not need more than 2 fingers to do it.
You might not need more than any. You might not even have any fingers. It could be a tie.
It could be a tie. And come down to the regulation and overtime wins tiebreaker. Very, very possible. And then that kind of leaves Minnesota in 3rd as not quite on the same level of Dallas and Colorado. Still very good, but not at that level. But certainly a cut above everybody between 4 and 8.
I would be pleasantly surprised if 1 through 3 isn't one correct, just because everything below 1 through 3 is just so meh.
Yeah.
They're just not the Central is not good.
It's not good. It is very top heavy, but I also don't think it's the worst division by any stretch.
No, I don't disagree. I'm just,
you got to go further west for that.
Yes. It's weaker. And you don't really have to worry about, obviously, Coyotes or the Hawks yet, but you'll have to worry about us soon.
We've switched from the 2010s, where Western Conference was stupid dominant, to now the Eastern Conference is overwhelmingly dominant, and the 8th place team in the East is probably as good on paper as, say, the number 3 or number 4 team in the West.
I agree. So that means the tides need to be shifting again soon.
They will be. They will be. You look at Chicago's prospect group, you look at Minnesota's, you look at Anaheim's. San Jose is going to get a ton of draft picks coming through here early in drafts over the next couple of years.
Coyotes
are 3 years away from being like, holy crap, how did Arizona get to this point? They're competing for a division title.
Right.
They got some, and they have so many draft picks coming up.
So 2012.
I wanted to mention this during the Chicago segment. Over the next 3 drafts, Chicago has right now 13 selections through the first 2 rounds. over the next 3 drafts.
And the only team with more than that
is Arizona.
Is with is it 16?
I think so. That sounds right.
I think it's 16. Yeah.
Both clubs throwing so many darts at the board right now.
Something's got to
and it's getting to the point where they're starting to hit more than they miss.
Right.
Which is what we need.
Obviously this last draft helps. Like I'm not even talking outside of Bedard. Like this was we had talked. This was the deepest draft since I mean people were comparing it to 2003.
It's 2015 for sure.
Yeah. Possibly
since 03.
Yeah, well,
we'll have to wait and see.
That has to take shape, but
but at least on paper, God, the 2015 class was special. That was a really, really good class. That is it for tonight's show. We are off next week.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. But I said next week was the show. The show. My bad.
Coming back on Monday the 9th, because Tuesday the 10th is opening night, and we are not going to try and go up against opening night and deprive the people of what we've waited for all summer, the return of NHL hockey. It is
Let's go!
You can taste it. October 9th, our big preview show. We went an hour and a half tonight. I would not be surprised if we end up going 2 on that show. Entirely possible. We are going to cover betting angles. We are going to cover our tough winner predictions. We're going to cover awards. We're going to cover fantasy. Yeah. We have a ton of content that we're going to cram into that show. Apologies in advance for how long that one's going to be, but hopefully it's good content and you're enjoying it and you're here for it. That's the important thing. So
we'll have drinks on camera for you too.
If you're listening and you're enjoying it, give us 5 stars. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate that.
Please
be sure to like and subscribe and follow as well on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. We're especially going to try and pump that YouTube channel this season. So we may have some exclusive content even moving towards YouTube.
Especially if Twitter starts to charge people.
Oh, they better not. We will get off Twitter and we will move heavily to YouTube if that is the case. So,
and hell, maybe even TikTok.
we'll see how bad Elon keeps just running Twitter into the ground.
It's X.
I will not call it that. If the low-hanging fruit easy joke there's
HP's got a point.
Yeah, Threads.
Maybe we should get on Threads.
Yeah, the easy joke is that there are enough toxic exes in my life. I don't need to add Twitter to that list.
Jesus,
it's not true. It's not me personally, but that joke,
it's there.
That joke just sits there. I mean, it's.
I get it. That's
it's too easy to not make that joke. So that's it. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you here in about 2 weeks. He's Joel. I'm Dan. Enjoy your night, everybody.
Bye.